This week, we look at a new set for the Dice Masters game, and also hear about a lot of new games coming out of Gen Con.
And after that, we're going to talk about our topic of the week, which is table talk. How much is too much talk at the table? I'm Jonathan Estes.
I'm Will Keeler, and this is the Roll for Crit podcast.
Welcome to the show. We got a lot of awesome news stories and some really boring ones for you this week. But the first one is one of the awesome ones, and that is that WizKids, publishers of the Marvel Dice Masters game, which you may or may not have seen or played lately, just came out about a month ago.
Congratulations if you have, because it's been very hard to come by.
That's correct, and we'll get into that. But anyway, they have announced a brand new set for the game, a new edition that's coming out. Of course, the original game was all based around Marvel Comics. The new one coming up is Dungeons and Dragons. So you're going to have your beholders and your kobolds and other such creators. Of course, I'm assuming dragons.
No dragons. We're waiting for them. We're waiting for them.
Couldn't get the rights to dragons. That will be the new set. That's coming out in sometime Q4, they say, of this year. There hasn't really been much else. There's really no other info about it. We still have, of course, the X-Men set coming up before that. But yeah, you probably have been looking for Marvel Dice Masters and haven't been able to find it. We have the booster packs.
Yes.
But just to understand, as owners of a game shop, he had to go on eBay to get a copy of it.
Yes. And it was pure luck. I found one for a reasonable price. It was just random luck, and I happened to find it for like 30 seconds before it ended.
Yeah.
So we just played. Like, we haven't had a chance to really dive into it, and I mean, it's definitely fun, and we still got to get our minds around it, finding out how the dice move and stuff.
Well, I wonder how much, because a big part of it, I think, for a lot of people, and definitely us too, is the Marvel theme. And they've also announced DC and Yu-Gi-Oh! Are going to be coming out. So, I mean, how much, do you expect, let's say we really get into it, packs start coming out more, the two of us start playing it, are you going to go for it and mix in all the Yu-Gi-Oh! And Dungeons and Dragons and stuff?
Oh, no question. I mean, another game we've played a lot more, though, is the Cryptozoic has the DC deck building game, which they also just came out with the Street Fighter one. We've mixed that together, and besides the fact that we took too long because we mixed all the bosses, the cards are really fun to mix together. It was like I was Batman and I forget the other guy, and you were Starfire and another character. But
also that's this game, I think even more so, is they're meant to be mixed.
Yes, and I'm looking forward to it. But I hear you heard some rumors about people with affecting the pouches in the game, though.
Yeah, there's been some worries among the crowds that tournaments are starting up soon for Marvel Dice Masters, where part of the game is reaching into a bag and taking out random dice. This is a great gesture out of context. And they're worried you might feel around for the dice.
Or you might actually sew a hidden pouch in there.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't do that.
I would never do that. That's a lot of effort for...
People will do that, though, because people are crazy. But no, I don't know if DC I would definitely add, because that mixes well with Marvel and because I like DC as well. I don't know if I would really care enough to go into the Yu-Gi-Oh! Sets.
Well, first of all, I'm pretty sure Yu-Gi-Oh! Is a good sign. I mean, nothing confirmed, that they've also got Shonen Jump. So that means we might also be able to see Dragon Ball, Naruto, Bleach, One Piece,
I mean, that would be
and
cool.
so on and so forth. And I think a lot of the cards lend themselves to it, especially maybe some of their mangas that are not as combat oriented, because you can still do dice things, it just effects. And that's why I think they mix well. You don't have to think of it as fighting as much as maybe one character doesn't really fight, maybe has low stats, but maybe every time you roll, add 3 energy or something.
And I like that.
So think of it not as much as you have to have heroes, but I'm thinking of it more as they're different cards with effects. It just happens to have the skin of the hero or the monster. I don't know whether it's going to be player, but over it.
Yeah, I think it really depends on, I guess if they're really awesome cards, I'll want to get them,
yeah,
right?
I mean...
We'll see what happens. But anyway, Dungeons & Dragons, that's coming out sometime in the fall or winter of this year, presumably.
If you spot it, do grab the starter set. You cannot play the game with just boosters packs, unfortunately. You need the starter set.
So, and even if you don't want to play the game, you could probably make a profit selling it on eBay.
True. Overall, still, something we recommend. Also, the packs are 99 cents. Big thing we should have pointed out.
It's cheap. It's cheap. That's the trick. It's cheap, but you can't find it.
It's too cheap.
That's how they get you.
All right. Now, to slow things down a bit, some of you have heard of the restaurant Old Country Buffet and also Ryan's Hometown Buffet. Well, they've just announced that for the month of June, every Thursday, starting the 5th of June, every time from 5 to 8, they're having Hasbro game nights.
Yeah!
That's right. You're going to be able to play some of the great family games. The game, I think the 4 games they have are Battleship, not Battlestar, unfortunately.
Come on, Grandpa. You be the Cylon.
Operation.
I don't know why they're southern.
Sorry. And I believe there's one more about
Monopoly.
No, it's not Monopoly because I think that
Trouble.
Trouble is the other one.
Trouble.
Because Monopoly, then no one would leave. they already get the old clientele as it is. But also, I believe families get a 10% off discount for a Hasbro game. I assume on their website. So I mean, if you have a family and that's your thing, it's definitely somewhere to go.
You have a family. If you're not a sad homeless individual watching this in a library right now. Yeah.
That's really it.
First of all, have you ever heard of Ryan's Hometown Buffet?
I have not, but you never know. It could be a regional thing.
I'm sure it must be because I've never seen one of those. But yeah, I'm not going to do this with my family. I'm not.
Yeah. Is it because the Old Country Buffet, or is it the fact that you'd have to go with the family?
Have you ever been to an Old Country Buffet?
I've not. I passed one along when going to college.
Let me tell you something.
I have.
How is it?
Awful.
Okay, Ivan says it's awful, but
The only good thing is they have a slushie machine. That's about it.
All right, Old Country Buffet. They're not going to sponsor our show.
No, they're not.
They're not going to sponsor us. Okay, so is that it?
I mean, there's not much else. I mean, go visit if you're interested.
I'm sorry, that story is hilarious.
Oh, I'm not about to. My next story is not going to help out.
It might. In other news, have you heard of the Kickstarter kids? It's all the rage on the internet.
Did you just come from Old Kitchen Buffet?
I did. Well, there's a new Kickstarter up there. You may have heard of it from Level 99 Games, who have made Battlecon and Pixel Tactics. And I know the one you were interested in, Argent Consortium.
Yeah, that was another Kickstarter that they recently just did. Unfortunately, I was not able to get on. A lot of board, if you realize a lot of board games companies, like not just independent ones, like big companies are going through Kickstarter.
It sounds like a topic of the week for future use. Or not. Not this week. Well, they just launched a new Kickstarter for their game, Battlecon, the new version of Battlecon. Apologies, I'm very unprofessional. If you've heard, but Battlecon War of Indians, it was the original version. Basically, it's Street Fighter, only in card game form. So it's a 2-player head-to-head duel game. And this is basically, they're doing a remake of that. So they're rebalancing the cards. It's the same basic game, but you're getting a bigger box, you're getting more pieces, redesigned artwork, and some of the rules they've also tweaked for balance and things like that. Which is pretty cool, and it's also good because I know the original Battlecon can be hard to find, and I think a lot of their games, maybe because they go through Kickstarter and stuff like that, aren't always in print in a lot of places.
Limited print, I think so, yeah.
Yeah, so if I think you should definitely get in on it. They've already passed their stretch goal. If you haven't played the original, not their stretch goal, their base goal, and they do have some stretch goals as well. Some of which, one of them was extra cards they already reached. There's some other ones, you can check them out on the site. I know some of them, if they reach, you'll get like an extra, totally different game for free that they designed, which is pretty awesome if you get the game. I think it's $50 that you have to spend to get the game itself, which is not totally unreasonable.
I mean, I don't know what comes with it, this version. I know we played the original one because you had it, and for a 2-player game, it was fun.
No, yeah, I definitely, like, if you are in a situation where you're playing 2-player games a lot, I feel like it's a must-have because
one of the things is it wasn't like a very long one.
Right.
Which is nice. Well, no, I mean like compared to like, you might be thinking like something like Twilight.
No, for normal people it's not. I should, one time, friend of the show, Garrett.
Yes.
And I did play a game of that where we actually timed it out where it's like we must have spent 15 minutes a piece on a turn. Like the analysis paralysis of between the two of us was awful.
It definitely does have that.
But if you're normal, it's a quick game and it is really fun.
And all the cool characters. Oh, are they doing new artwork for
And
them?
that's the thing I was going to say, because all the artwork in the original game was different artists for each
Right.
character. So it was very uneven. So I love that, at least it looks like, it looked like from the Kickstarter, I didn't see anywhere they actually said this, but they definitely had consistent art of all the characters that was new on the box. So I'm assuming they're redoing all the art, which will be great to have a look consistent.
I mean, the one Kickstarter, like I said earlier, that I didn't back, all their artwork looked the same. So maybe, they got one artist to have on permanently.
So check it out.
Yeah. Well, coming out of Oklahoma, starting again in June, in Champlain, I believe it's pronounced, I'm terrible pronouncing names, Park, they're doing a life-size Candyland. So starting June 6th at 6:30 p.m., you're going to be able to go there and play Candyland. And they'll have little snacks, I think like lemonade and gingerbread cookies. And instead of going cards, you roll a die, and that's what color space is. Apparently they've been working on it since January. And it's going to be around for a month. So if you're in that general area, I mean, might as well check it out and see what they did.
Sounds like the next Roll for Crit field trip.
If we had the money for that.
Oklahoma, Candyland board game. I mean, my question, the obvious follow-up is, what life-size game would you want to play? Didn't someone do a life-size version of Catan? Or did I make that
I think
up?
so. No, I believe that's
like
true.
at a con or something? They had
Probably.
giant hexes.
Are we doing because a reasonable one, or one I'd just like to see if it could actually be done?
Yeah, either one.
All right. Actually be done, Arkham Horror. We actually build a city that's Arkham. And you actually have people as monsters dressed up.
You all have to communicate by phone because you're not next to each other.
Yes.
So it's like, what are you doing on your turn? I made a portal, you guys. I get to
You
balance.
actually have, or it'd be worse. If you try to do Betrayal House on the Hill, you have to have that room switch up.
That one doesn't make sense. Unless you just have giant tiles.
Reasonable. Battlecon. You actually have people dressed up as the characters. That'd be sort of cool.
Maybe Space Alert.
Oh, that really small elevators.
That would be ridiculous. Yeah.
Really small elevators.
Oh God, I'm moving this way.
Did someone hit the computer screen? So you let us know. What would you like to see as a life-sized game?
Send it to Zoom. Or Roll for Crit. How about another board game that maybe would make a good segue, but it didn't.
No, it did not.
Coming out soon from King Post Productions. They are doing a Kickstarter for a Beowulf board game. So they actually also, in the past, did a Kickstarter that was successful for a Moby Dick game, so apparently this is their niche, as it were. And I believe...
So this is based on the book specifically, not like just movie.
Not the movie, the probably because they couldn't get the rights to that anyway. But yeah,
it's better for them.
The play slash book slash epic poem, whatever it is, Beowulf, and I was gonna. My brain is dying a little bit right now.
You need some food, my friend.
I really do. But yeah. So depending on what day you're watching this, supposedly it's supposed to launch Monday, June 2nd. So it's probably already up by the time you're watching this, so you can check it out. They didn't put a whole lot of info out, although there will be, I'm sure, a lot more now that the Kickstarter's up. But the game takes place and you're trying to defeat monsters and gain prestige and honor among your friends for killing monsters.
Sounds pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's pretty cool when to take a license like that as a game. I think there's a lot of potential for that, for things that you wouldn't think of. Like, who would ever think of a Moby Dick board game? But it probably is pretty cool. I haven't seen it. Yeah, I would love to try it out. I would love more, like, some weird out of left field games like that. Like, I don't know, like...
Well, that's what Kickstarter's for.
I think I said on the page, Crime and Punishment or War and Peace. I don't know. Some weird, I'm sure. The Odyssey, actually?
Are you kidding me? That is a board game.
Yeah.
That's literally a board game. And the gods are just like, no, I cast this card. I cost it to move back 10 spaces.
That would be sick. So,
all right.
So check that out.
Speaking of games, coming... Well,
Every
new games.
Story is
Yes.
about games.
But speaking of new games, Gen Con is happening soon, and it's one of the biggest board game conventions in North America, or United States at least. I don't know about Mexico and Canada.
Oh, those Canadians go wild.
Well, it's cold. They're probably inside more. But during this time, a lot of people come out with new games to visit, and hopefully we'll get to see them when we visit which is exciting.
Hopefully.
But there are tons of games from developers, including Gloom is coming out with a new box set, that will include reworks of some of their old cards, and as well as some of their not in print expansions anymore. The Dead of Winter, which we saw and we've been dying to get our hands on.
That's from Plaid Hat, who made like BioShock and Summoner Wars and a bunch of other games. That looks awesome.
As well as a spin-off, I guess is the best title, of Suburbia, known as Subdivision.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it is a spin-off.
It's not really...
It's not an expansion. It's a standalone...
Yes, it's under the umbrella of the Suburbia universe-ish.
Part of their family.
As well as... So some Kickstarters that got successfully funded will be there as well, including Coinage, which is a micro game, which we both funded. It looks a lot of fun. Fit in your pocket, just play with when you're sitting out in the diner. As well as another game which I've backed, which is really cool, called Heroes Wanted, in which you get 2 random cards that'll be like Dinosaur Cop, and that's your hero. And you're trying to become the next hero to join their version of like the Justice League. So like everyone becomes a hero, and there's villains that do the same thing. So there could be like
Dinosaur Cop Theodore Rex.
No, but there actually is 2 cards that's Dinosaur Cop, and they came out together. That's why I mentioned that one.
Okay.
But it looks like a lot of fun. I hope I get a chance to visit them and visit everyone and see all the new games. So
I know they're also one that I backed, 2 Booms and a Room. Sorry, I always say it wrong. 2 Rooms and a Boom.
You just want 2 booms.
I really do. I don't know. I don't think they're going to be selling it there necessarily, but I know they're doing an event of playing.
I mean, those in particular,
These
I don't know what
ones
they're
that are
selling.
being
Yes.
published. I'm pretty sure they are selling all of those. I know I also saw there's a new Space Cadets, like a new...
It looks like expansion for the dice game.
I think so, yeah.
No, but there's a lot. And some of the game developer companies would be like, we're not telling you anything until the convention. So keep your ears close to the ground and listen for any new news.
But
we'll
if you
be
want
there.
to see a comprehensive list, maybe we didn't mention it.
Oh, right. Of course. Board Game Quest has a good list, and he's been updating it, I think, as it gets closer. We'll have the link.
Check it out in our show notes.
As well as through our regular news articles. And we'll also be there reporting, so stay tuned for our report, and we hopefully be able to try out all the games we mentioned and more.
Yeah, that's the dream.
That is the dream.
I think that's the end of our slow news week. It's going to bring us into our maybe slightly faster topic of the week. All right, as stated at the top of the show, our topic this week is Table Talk. It's almost a tongue twister.
Why don't you explain what Table Talk actually is?
Why, thank you. I think I will. Well, in case you don't know, Table Talk is pretty self-explanatory. It literally means discussion at the table during a board game. More specifically, some people take issue with Table Talk. And you might be saying,
why? I'm with my friends. I want to talk.
You're an old, angry Jewish lady. And I would say to you, the idea is that, for example, we've talked about in this show the idea of king-making.
Correct.
So a big part of that is saying to someone else, hey, that guy has a lead. This is a little different from king-making. That guy has a lead, or whatever it is. We need to gang up on him.
Or it could just simply be, if you do that move, you hurt him. Like they might not be able to...
Right, giving each other advice. And it's the question is about where do you draw the line between how much talk is just friendly banter and how much is, actually going so far as to potentially ruin your game experience, that people are ganging up on you or teaming up, or someone does something they wouldn't have normally, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And a lot of games that I'm sure we'll talk about have much more specific examples where things can really mess things up. Which I could think of one right now, unless you want to take it from me.
No, by all means.
Well, we've talked about this before, but Hanabi is I think an obvious. That game is Table Talk the game, basically.
Well, I think what's a little different with that one compared to some of the other ones is that one's a cooperative game, and usually with a cooperative game, Table Talk is never an issue when it's full cooperative. But the way that game works, which is also really cool about it, is that depending on what you say, could accidentally give a hint to someone, which is sort of unfair because you're supposed to have to wait your turn to spend a token,
whatever it is,
to give a hint. So that's where Table Talk, really specifically, actually sort of hurts because the game's sort of based around.
Right. And
Not-
along those same lines, changing gears a little bit.
Of course.
We were just playing Dixit recently, where it's a game where everyone puts your cards in the middle of the table, and everyone has to guess who the main player's card was. Essentially, you give a clue. And there were a lot of times where all the cards would come out, and I would want to say things like, "Whoa, that card looks really cool," because I hadn't seen it before. But in a way, that's giving away something. But then you could take it to a whole other level of saying, you could say stuff like that to throw other people off about cards that you actually did play.
Right. But
So it comes down to where do you want to, like, how deep do you want to go?
well, I think the main table talk where people get angry would be more of a competitive sense. So let's take a game in particular. I think this came up is Dominant Species. In this game, you place action tokens to get different actions, and then later you can, depending on how actions your species spreads or dies. Now, in this game, people might be like, "All right, you can go and kill that tile though to try to put aggro off yourself," and some people find that and see like you shouldn't be allowed to do that. And I think in some of those games, there might be some particular I can't think off the top of my head though. That's fair because I think part of it is it's a political game, and you need to sort of try to avoid. When it starts becoming, well, we've talked about this before, is when it becomes an alpha gamer. Like if someone literally it might as well just be a puppet of someone.
Right.
Which is a little different.
Right. It's like it's the alpha gamer, only they're only helping themselves since it's not cooperative.
Right.
You're just saying, oh, do that, and exactly what you're saying
Right.
is that it's like, okay, like
I think it's fair game if it'd be like, let's say it was this person's turn, and I go, you can attack that space, and then you can be like, however, and then you say like, you can attack Will there, and then he actually loses 3 species.
Right.
It's sort of a political like.
Which is different from like I think it's okay if you're still explaining rules. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
Like you can say, okay, you might have forgotten. You also can use this ability or whatever. As opposed to, if 2 people are actually experienced in the game, and then, I don't know why I said 2, however many it is, then it becomes a point of, how much leeway do you give people of, you should know better that you could have done that, or do you be helpful and help them out? You know what I mean? Depends on...
I usually think table talk is a good thing, because I like the political discourse it brings along with it. I mean...
And some games are built around it.
Yeah.
As we said, Cosmic Encounter wouldn't exist almost. Well, it's sort of. Well,
no, because it's diplomat. Yeah. I mean, the game we just got Diplomacy. That's literally.
Yes, that literally is just table talk. But there's also a really interesting. Like I've read a suggestion that I sort of want to try, although I don't think I could get anybody to do it with me. Which is Battlestar Galactica played silently.
Oh, good luck with that.
So, other than literally announcing what you're doing, you wouldn't be allowed to ever it makes the game completely different because you're not. There is no aspect of psychological, that guy is messing with me. It's purely based on what you see and what you know. So if you know there was a bad card played, someone played it, you have to just go only by logic and what's actually happened to figure out what's what.
I wouldn't do it unless you were with a very experienced group with the game, because that definitely gives at least in my opinion, it seems to give a very good edge to the Cylon.
Yeah, probably.
Because it's harder for him to give hints out without talking. Unless he does rule lawyering. But that's a whole nother topic.
But it definitely, I do think there are some games that it would be really interesting to try that and just see like another. Then there's some games that it would totally ruin, like The Resistance. Again, if you did that silently, it just becomes nothing. It becomes a logic puzzle, not a game. It defeats the point of it. Sometimes the talk is definitely the thing, but our group definitely is pretty lax about it. I don't think we're almost never. No one's ever really don't say that or anything or gets mad that someone's talking. I know some people over the interwebs are super strict about here's what you can say or only on your turn and just announce what you're doing.
Yeah, the 2 times I feel that we've brought up talking is one Hanabi, because really you have to. Even if it's cooperative, you want it the way it works. It's funner too with taking it away. because you're like, ugh.
So like that.
The other one, sort of, not really, is Mansions of Madness. Because in the game, the way it works is everyone's an investigator except for one person. That person is like the mastermind. And one of the things that can happen is you can hit a lock. Now what's supposed to happen is only the person who's at the lock can look at it and talk about it. No one else needs hints.
They have to actually solve a puzzle.
Yeah, it's like a little, they have like maybe 4 moves to switch tiles around. But we thought, because it makes sense thematically, is that if you happen to be on the same space as the person who's on the lock, you can talk with them. Because it's like you're looking over their shoulder and talking.
Right. Which I like.
Yes, because I think it makes sense thematically, and that way also maybe it gives maybe a reason to be on the same basis, because maybe even if you can't solve it, you can be like, I can be there to help you. So,
And definitely I can see why they made that rule.
Oh no, absolutely, because like the puzzles aren't like some extremely complicated things. I mean, have put enough brains so you could probably solve it, most of them within. But can you think of any games we've added any special talking rules besides?
We've added?
Yeah.
Not really. I can look at our behind us. As Space Alert, that's also another one where you have to be talking constantly.
Yeah, but there's also times when it tells you not to talk, so I don't know.
That's true. We do obey those rules.
Yeah. So like once again, cooperative, you don't really focus on talking as much.
Yeah, usually we're pretty.
Well, it might be one. It's not really table like in the oriented like you don't like people sharing strategies, but it actually hurt you is Betrayal House on the Hill, because when someone becomes evil, you know, you go into your rooms, you think about your strategies, but afterwards you don't want to say your strategy out loud.
Right. That's a tough one.
Yeah, that one's like.
Anything with hidden information too, yeah, basically makes table talk. You don't want to do it.
So, but that's not as much as like the game. I feel like when we talk about competitive games, whether it's more of an honor type thing, when that's more of just a smart move on your teammates. Like it.
Yeah. But I definitely think there's room for a healthy amount of it. I mean, at the end of the day. Yes. No.
Agreed.
At the end of
there
the day,
can always be too much.
We're playing, we're playing games to hang out with each other. I mean, we want to play the game, but it's a social experience, and it's like there's a line between chaos and playing with robots.
But once again, depending on who you're playing with, I mean, try out Silent Battlestar, or maybe try out.
I mean, just for
I mean,
maybe that's what you're into.
And maybe if you need help with an hobby, maybe allow a little bit of talking.
Right.
I mean,
sure.
But I mean, it depends on your group of friends or whoever you're playing with. Maybe they're not friends. And what game is. I mean, every game brings a whole new, like, we're not sure, like, what game comes out. I mean, some games maybe you need to talk. Some games it's better not to. Maybe you feel it's unfair that someone's able to point out. Maybe you have someone who's just really good at forcing everyone else to attack each other. And maybe you don't want that to happen because it keeps winning. I don't know.
Right.
But
well, that's where we fall on it. I think. Yeah.
But what are your thoughts? Let us know.
Send it to Zoom or our YouTube comments. Also, you can send us an email. Our email address is rollforcrit@gmail.com.
Or you can contact us by Twitters.
Absolutely.
There's the main Twitter @rollforcrit, or our personal Twitters.
I'm at Quince.
I'm at Doru Kiryu.
That guy who you heard yelling earlier is at Ivan R. Hahn. And please subscribe to us in our many different channels and forms.
Don't forget to like us.
We're on iTunes, YouTube, obviously.
Our own site.
Facebook, our own site.
Twitter, like we've mentioned before.
Twitter. Anything you can do to spread the word of Roll for Crit would make us real happy.
Do talk about it at the table. That's one thing we definitely 100% approve. Roll for Crit talk at the table.
It was a slow week, but
hopefully more. Especially as soon as conventions start coming around, we'll have a lot of information to share.
It's gonna ramp up.
Oh, and it's gonna be fun.
That too.
Yeah. So I'm Will Keeler.
I'm Jonathan Estes. This has been episode number 4 of the Roll for Crit podcast.